Hey everybody! All my furry friends were so excited for tonight's interview. They simply had to join us because, of course, it's their creators joining us tonight, Melissa and Doug. If you don't know their names, you certainly know their toys. If you're anything like me, your house is filled with Melissa and Doug toys, or at least it was at one point. They make everything from furry puzzles to these amazing, almost like lifelike animals and play sets of every kind from around your house and around workspaces, and things that just make us happy, and things that I'm happy to say still sell even in a world where everything is all screens. But Melissa and Doug didn't just build a billion-dollar global toy brand. You see, their next act might be even more incredible. What they're doing now is literally saving lives, one person at a time, or in this case, hundreds of thousands of people already joining their community, Lifelines, that is helping people with their mental health. So imagine that. Your first act, building a global billion-dollar toy brand, and your second act is saving lives and helping people through their mental health journey. Two of the most inspirational people on the planet, two of my favorite people in the world as well. And Melissa Bernstein and Doug now from their wonderland of a home here in Westport, Connecticut. There they are. Hey, guys.
Hey!
I brought some friends.
Yes, you did.
You mean us?
You
That
too.
is
You.
adorable.
And full disclosure, we are good friends. For everyone who doesn't know, we spend hours. Guys, get out of here. We spend hours and hours on the baseball sideline every weekend and have for several years. So I'm so excited to do this.
And
because
we're
they're two of my
we're
favorites.
the ones who spent hours and hours with Dave and still like them.
Well, enough. at least
So,
for the next.
Dave,
It's
can
great.
I,
Yeah.
before we get going, can I just get something off my chest?
Please do.
It was a little bit of a rough day. We accidentally left the door unlocked at our Melissa and Doug building today, and seeing one person went in there, ransacked the place, and a lot of stuff missing and everything. I mean, we think we're going to be able to track it down. I mean, the few clues were left behind. We found this hat in the scene. That hat was there. And the thing is, we do have security equipment, so we were able to get a snapshot of the person who was taking all the plush away. So we do have an idea. And someone was witnessing it. They said after they took the plush, they saw him jump into the river. And so this is the guy that we're looking for.
Oh, no.
How you doing, Dave?
Wow, you have blown me away with the props out of the gate. Melissa, was that all his idea?
100% will not
Oh.
take an ounce of credit.
Oh my
I
goodness.
don't think he was given credit.
Yeah, maybe you weren't giving credit. This is why his grades weren't too good in school.
Hey man, that's a guy with too much time on his hands. I'd love to see.
Yep.
how he's-
It's all about the prank, the joke.
And that's been the common thread through your guys' life is you guys make people smile, honestly. And Doug does that on the sidelines every baseball weekend. That's what you did for a career, and that's what you're doing in your second act, which is just unbelievable. And look, I usually like to start with a question, but I'm going to start with some feedback that usually comes during the interview. This came before it. From Ed, who said, Melissa and Doug saved my life. I deal with anxiety and depression, and because of them, I'm still here. They were the most supportive during one of my darkest times, and I love that Melissa is speaking out about her journey. I love them so much. You built $1 billion toy brand. How does it compare to hearing you literally saved a life?
Aww. Well, I mean that there's nothing to compare with that. And that's why we're doing this now. Because, the first verse on my book is, today I saved a life, although it was my very own, but won't serve a greater purpose till I rescue lives unknown. And I think when you have been to so many dark caverns of your own being and know that the meaning comes from taking that experience and using it to help others who are also in those dark caverns, then you can find your own meaning from that darkness.
That's good stuff. I can't believe that, and I want to circle back to Lifelines. I can't believe we've spent so many hours together on Sidelines over the years, and I've never actually heard the genesis of Melissa and Doug. So before we circle back, I want to hear a little bit about the founding of this company. When did it happen, and where was the idea born out of? I can't believe I don't know the story.
Well, we're happy to share that, and first want to tell everyone and everyone listening in how much we appreciate you, and we appreciate all of our time on the Sidelines. And one of the nice things about having children in this town, this wonderful, amazing town of Westport, Connecticut, is that we, the parents, get to meet some amazing parents of our children's friends. So we thank our son, Nate, for being friends with your son, Will, and for allowing us the chance to get to know each other. We've certainly loved knowing you and your family over the years. So Melissa and I, we like to say that that we conceived Melissa and Doug out of wedlock because we were dating, and we started dating. Melissa was still in school, and I was just a year or so out, and we spent a lot of time with each other, and we loved every minute that we were with each other. We started looking at what we were doing, and we realized that what we wanted to do is we wanted to make a contribution to the world, and we didn't really feel that we were doing that. And so we packed up our stuff, and we went to a little bed and breakfast in Lenox, Massachusetts, called the Cliffwood Inn. I believe it's still there. And we went there, and we locked up the door, and in this beautiful romantic bed and breakfast, and we said, we're not going to leave until we know what we want to do together next. And we spent literally a whole weekend there.
It was all about business.
That was it.
That was 100% hit. But hey, it worked. And we came out of there saying that what we really wanted to do more than anything was something for children. And that was the genesis. Frankly, we didn't know exactly what it would be. We wanted to do something for children. We love children. We've always been around children. My parents are educators. My father was the elementary school principal in Reading for his whole career. My mother, guidance counselor in Norwalk. Melissa's mom was a reading teacher, and her dad was in educational publishing. So we knew that we wanted to do something for children, and that was the genesis. We didn't have any plans beyond that, other than we knew we wanted to make some wonderful educational products for kids, and whatever would happen after that would be fine.
Yeah. And we never thought about it in terms of like making money or reaching a certain bottom line. We just knew if we could create incredible products for children that unleash their imagination, then we would be doing something good. And we truly meant that. And that is still our mission today.
If we always like to say, if money were the object in 1988, the choice would not be to make a wooden puzzle for children. Yeah. So it always has been all about doing the right thing for kids and trying to do what we thought would bring some joy to as many children as possible.
And going the unconventional route, because, you know, when we told people what we were doing, I mean, they literally looked at us like we had lost our minds. And, you know, everyone said, it's not going to work.
She's mostly speaking about her parents at this point, because yeah, I think that was the exact quote.
When you leave like a really good job that is going right up the ladder and you say, I'm going to take my meager life savings and pull it together with my boyfriend, and we're going to actually make toys. Like, people looked at me. Those weren't the days when startup was a cool word.
Right.
Startup meant you had like failed out. Like, why would you start up when you're already on the track?
And so what did you learn from that experience that can help others that are sitting around wrestling with ideas?
Oh, that's easy.
I just tried to sell my wife on $1 billion idea, and she destroyed me. She blew me out of the water. So what do you tell people that have an idea but think, oh, I could never make a business or a living of this?
If it's in here, you'll make it. If it's in here, it's got to come from here, because there are so many obstacles along the way. So many times when you fall down and get muddy. I mean, people sometimes say to us today, they'll look and go, wow, gosh, this must have been easy. It all worked out perfectly. And we say, if you had any idea of the horribly sleepless nights, many, many, probably more than not, the many horrible things that happen, the many tough things that happen all along the way. So if it's in here, then it doesn't matter, because when something horrible happens, you say, it's okay. We got to get back in that saddle. We got to keep moving on.
We always said we would never do it again. And of course we're doing it again. But the things we faced, the obstacles we faced along the way were so unsurmountable, it seemed, that if we didn't have each other, honestly, we never would have made it. But I'll say that so many people start businesses in their head, you know what Doug said about the heart, and they start businesses to sell it, to make a lot of money, to go public, to write a business plan, to make a cool logo, like for all the wrong reasons. And I think, you know, when you have that idea or that mission or that passion that is so great that you can't sleep at night because it becomes like instilled in every ounce of your being, and you know there's a problem that you're going to solve better than anyone else has ever solved it, and you can convey that to everyone you meet, I think then you can begin to think, I have something here. But if it's anything short of that, you're not going to have the wherewithal and the clarity of vision to get there.
And the other nice thing about that, Dave, is that if you really like it that much, then it makes it easy and enjoyable. And like Melissa, I mean, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this, but for Melissa, creating these amazing, imaginative, open-ended children's toys has been her salvation. This she talks about all the time. This has been her source of joy through all these years and her source of happiness. So if it's something that you care that deeply about, it works out well for everyone. You're creating great things for people, but you are also getting something from it as well.
I think it's incredible that out of your darkness came this joyful business. It's a really interesting situation that it was born out of. How do you explain its continued success? And we are going to move on to Lifelines, but in a world where everything is on a screen like we are right now, everything my kids touch is on a screen. How do you explain its continued success today?
I would explain it by saying that's the reason for its continued success, because everyone chases the shiny object. And Melissa and I and our amazing team at Melissa and Doug, we've always felt that being screen-free and being committed to open-ended play for children, we've always felt that's important. And just as you asked that question now, I remember when Melissa and I were at one of our largest trade shows just a few years ago, and the CEO of the largest toy company, won't name, but said to us, hey, if you don't switch everything that you make over to apps right away, that's going to be the end of you. And we said, even if that were true, we couldn't do it, because we knew that for a 3-year-old, that is not the right way to go. We know all the studies, we know all the academics behind it, we know all the things that are not good for a 3-year-old to be just hitting that technology all day long. So the nice thing is that the pendulum has swung, and so many people have recognized that in the last few years. And in fact, if you read things that are coming out today, I would just have this conversation with a friend of mine at Melissa and Doug a few days ago, the fact that today all the studies are coming out and saying, gosh, we have to go back to these open-ended toys and away from this technology.
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of parents knowing in their souls that open-ended play is really what is right for their kids, because it was right for them and it gave them that grit and resilience and problem-solving ability that made them independent adults. And also, when you really look at the way kids play with these open-ended toys, it's magical. And they love it in a way that they can never find through technology. So when you give them that gift from, babyhood on, they become so much more imaginative. They become innovative and creative and, problem solving. And I think they enjoy their childhood a lot more, because they don't, you know, kids, when they're bombarded constantly by technology, it makes them edgy. It makes them impatient. It makes them temperamental. Like it's not good for them.
We've all seen Nate and Will and plenty of kids after a couple hours of Fortnite, and it ain't pretty.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's when we send them to your house.
Yeah, well, we actually do the opposite. But last question before we pivot, it's a silly one. Was it always Melissa and Doug, or did you ever fight for Doug and Melissa?
I wanted this to succeed. Why would I fight for Doug and Melissa?
He's buttery, but he does get the ampersand. So in a way, he won, because I'm just Melissa. He gets the and Doug.
You thought of that.
It could be Dave and Doug. I mean, I could take that ampersand anywhere.
Yeah.
Ooh, our next venture,
in a way,
buddy. I like it. Our next venture. So, Doug, I want to ask you about this lady next to you. I mean, most people dream about cashing out, buying a big boat, sailing around the world, just blowing money for the rest of their lives. Instead, you guys pour money into saving people, helping with their mental health, and literally, as I read earlier, people like Ed saving their lives. What does it say about Melissa that is what she wanted to do with all this success?
Well, you just have to go back to the beginning. It's the only thing that's ever been on her mind. Melissa's, I mean, money has never been an object for Melissa. It's never been a goal. We could tell you about the beginnings, and we were perfectly fine eating the ramen noodles and the chicken hot dogs, and that would have served us well forever off the hot plate, which is how we got by for the first few years of this business. And so it was never a goal, it was never a destination. It's always been all about helping, bringing joy to as many people as possible. So now for Melissa to be able to bring solace and peace to more people in a different way is incredible. So no, that wouldn't even come as a remote. Melissa wanting to spend money on anything other than helping other people would not sit right.
And I had everything I could ever dream of. I had achieved the American dream and had, you know, the amazing relationship, 6 children, like every trapping I could imagine, but still something was missing deep in my soul, because, you know, I hadn't accepted myself for being this weird misfit of a creative, and I needed to touch others and help them find their light through my own experience. Like that is what I wanted to do more than anything.
Yeah, you know, I will add to that, when Melissa has gone on this journey that she's really led herself through, and as she has helped herself through, you know, from this darkness to light, her in addition to euphoria about it for herself, her first thought was, I need to go out and share this. I need to share this with as many people as I can. I need to touch as many people as I can.
Yeah, the minute I found my own light, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that all those creatives out there that create these beautiful things and feel so isolated and stigmatized and rejected by society. Like they need someone to speak for them. They need someone to show that you can't love what we create and not love us for exactly who we are.
Was there ever a guilt factor because you do have so much? I mean, there are times that, and we'll probably get to this, that I am struggling with my own mental health. And I feel guilty because I have a nice home and because I've had great jobs. And I don't want to ever say anything about being down because I honestly feel terrible just saying that.
So we just did a workshop last week, which is I don't deserve to be depressed, because so many of the letters I get say, I have good things, I don't deserve it. And for myself, talk about a stigma. You know, people always said to me, what do you have, you know, why are you sad? Like you have everything. You can't be sad. Like you've gotten it all. And I felt really ashamed that, you know, I couldn't be sad if I had everything. But the truth is, you know, depression doesn't discriminate, and it's chemical, and I was born with it and I'll die with it. and, you know, having all those trappings, all those material, you know, rewards don't make your depression go away. If anything, they might make it worse.
And David, Melissa and I always like to flip things upside down and try to look at things through a different lens. And so when we were going out, Melissa's bringing her story and going out to help, there were people who said, hey, this is going to be a problem. You've got all these beautiful things. People are going to see your beautiful homes. People are going to know about this and that. And so you might want to think twice about it. You know what our answer was? That's all the more reason why we have to do it, because it makes the story so much more powerful, because Melissa is saying that. She's not hiding from that. She is saying, yes, I have beautiful homes. Yes, I have a beautiful business and family and dogs and everything one could ever imagine. But that doesn't mean that I was immune from depression.
Right. And it also, I think it's hopefully for younger people, I hope it's a good lesson that, you know, the myth of America basically says that if you achieve a certain status, a certain level of success, everything will be blissful.
Yes.
And I want to show them it's a lot more than that. Like, that alone won't make anyone feel peace and fulfillment. It's about accepting yourself in your soul. And, you know, the trappings can make your life comfortable. They certainly can bring you pleasure, but can they bring you peace or fulfillment? Absolutely not. I mean, I was there and they didn't do it. So, and now I'm finally, like, I have felt a sense of meaning that I've been looking for my whole life through Lifelines.
And Doug, did you ever say, you have me, you have 6 kids? I mean, your instinct must have been, aren't I enough? Isn't this family enough? Isn't this home and business enough?
If I were you in my shoes, I might have said, isn't this enough? But me, no, no. I've been very aware of Melissa's, you know, navigating all this for all this time, and really never looked at it that way. And I would say you know, way back when in the early days, I would say I did what comes natural to me. I'm a fixer. I'm a problem solver. I like to operate. And so, you know, there were many days when I would say to Melissa, you know, well, what's wrong? You know, what can we do? What do we need to do? And because that's what I like to do. That's what I like to do in business and personal life. I like to try to solve things. And it took me a little while to realize that the best way to offer support for someone who's afflicted or navigating through something like this is to simply let them know that you are there. You support them. You love them. You're going to be there. You're going to be there today. You're going to be there tomorrow. And let them know that you are by their side. And sometimes you have to let a person work through something on their own. And that's something, you know, that I learned. I didn't know that right away, but that was a learning for me.
And the thing is, no one can save anyone else. The truth is, the more you look toward things outside yourself, even if it's your family, it's outside you, the less you will go inward and really make that inward journey. And, you know, it's every stage from the beginning of time, it's always been about doing it yourself, making your own journey, feeling that love and compassion for yourself, because only then can you really feel it for anyone else. So I think, you know, anyone who believes either someone else can save them or they can save another. And I've had to, you know, sort of talk to so many who say, my daughter is afflicted, my husband, my whatever is afflicted. Like, what do I do? They don't want my help. And I can't seem to help them. And the answer is, no, unfortunately, you can't. All you can do is tell them you're there for them and you support them and you love them, which is a lot in and of itself. And you're not trying to change them. But that journey and that choice to take responsibility for your own life and make meaning is just your own choice.
And that journey is where Lifelines comes in. And tell me where the journey starts and the goal of the whole process.
Well, Lifelines is really peer-to-peer support. You know, we're not professionals, but we're here to show a whole bunch of afflicted people who've always felt they haven't belonged, felt isolated, that they don't fit in, that they're not alone. And we have the most warm, welcoming community that embraces anyone, no matter who they are. We want to show that everyone has the capacity to channel their darkness into light and make meaning, because we all have these beautiful, I call them sparks, in our soul that are longing to rage freely and ignite with humanity. But a lot of times life, despair kind of makes our sparks, almost snuffs them out. It suffuses them in darkness, and we have to shed all that darkness to let the sparks rage. And then 3, that as we were talking, so many of us race outside ourselves for the external measures of success, right? We think that if you get that perfect job, if you get that beautiful house, if your kids get a 4.0, go to the elite colleges, like everything will be great. And it's not true. Unfortunately, until we commit ourselves to taking that journey inward and doing the arduous work that it takes to accept ourselves in totality, we won't ever truly find fulfillment or peace.
And what have you found that works for you on this journey?
Me personally?
Yeah, I mean, because
gosh.
one of the first things you said was get out of your head and into your heart on the website.
Yep.
And that really struck me, because I can never stop this hamster wheel. And even at times that I'm begging it to stop. What things have worked for you to get out of that cycle?
That's an amazing question. And I have decided to do this holistically. And my medicine is my practice. And my practice is a deliberate practice every single day that includes 3 areas. And I have a metaphor. It's like my backpack of lifelines that I strap on every day. And it has 3 sections. It has self-care, because I always really tried to punish myself, and I denied myself any form of sustenance and pleasure. That was part of my demon in my head.
Self-care, like what? What is self-care?
It has to be, and I even termed it in a way that's really comforting: body nourishment, body movement, and body rest. So it's those simple things, but for me, they're not so simple, because when I'm in a creative mode, I don't want to sleep. When I exercise, I tend to over-exercise and become obsessive about it. And when I feel powerless about life, I don't eat. So those things are really important for my body health. In the middle are all these practices I've had to adopt to get myself out of this prison of my head. And they include things like going to a therapist 1 day a week, which is my religion. It's a lot of mindfulness, mantras, which are my own verses. Some people do yoga and meditation. I have some practices. I have to allow everything I'm feeling, not judge my feelings, and I have to offer myself compassion. And then the last one.
Well, no, I was just to say that it's interesting, because David, when you said, and I leave it to Melissa to be the more thoughtful and intelligent one on this, but when you said, I find it so hard when I have that noise up here, Melissa's first comment, because I've been through this all with her, would be, she would say, no, you need to allow that. And when you fight it, you're almost fueling it. You're almost cycling it a little bit. But I know you talk a lot about allowing all of your feelings, embracing all of yourself, even the self that brings that noise.
Yeah, in the tools, my 2 practices that are part of my journey that I do every single day are allowing everything without judging it, and offering myself compassion instead of berating myself and criticizing myself. And those are the 2 things still today I do 20 times each day. Because I have to relearn a new pattern that became really damaging in my life. And then the 3rd area that's most important are our passions and our play. And those are the things that keep us in our heart, where we're in the moment and we're literally living life right now. And that's the joy of life. You know, for me, it's talking with these seekers. It's taking walks, which I do. I spend 1 hour in nature. I must. And it looks like I'm having fun, and I am, but it's truly part of my practice. If I don't do that, I start to go down, like literally feel myself going down. So that's part of my practice. When you see me at Wakeman.
Don't tell David where we go on our walks.
Yeah. You saw us the other day. So at the beach or at Wakeman, it's like part of my health. Gosh, any form of self-expression. I love to write verses. I love to listen or play music. I love to craft in any way. And we all have our lifelines, right?
You know what Melissa talks a lot about that's interesting is, given that she spent 30 years making play for children, she talks all the time about who made the rule that play stops just play stop at age 8? I mean, why does it stop at any age? And so Melissa talks all the time about how play is important from 2 years old, but then it kind of keeps on going. And she is obviously a lifelong proponent of play, for whether you be a child or whether you be an adult.
But so many people I talk with that say, I'm in a really dark place. I have no hope left. You know, the first 2 questions I ask them is, who are you connecting with, you know, in an authentic way, humans, and what are you doing for your passions and your play? And most of the time they say no to both. I haven't connected with anyone in months, and I've lost sight of what my passions and my play are. And I say, well, then you're wondering why you're despairing? Like, by definition, if you don't connect with anyone and you become super isolated and you don't engage in anything that brings your life meaning, like, by definition, you're going straight down there. So I think it's simple. It's not easy. So it's simple to say these things, but to practice them day in and day out and make them something that is your medicine, you know, is very challenging. Because what happens is people, when they feel good, they're like, I don't need a practice. Who needs this silly practice? And they abandon the practice. And then one day when a pandemic hits, or God forbid, they lose someone they love, or they lose a job, or they lose something that means something to them, a relationship ends, they have nothing to bolster them. And they go down quickly. And that's why you need this practice to support you in those dark times. So it's muscle memory. So maybe you can share some of your story too.
Yeah, I mean, I've never revealed this to anyone outside of these walls and the 2 of you. And I have really struggled with my mental health, and I lost a job a little over a year ago. And I've had some really dark days. And I, you know, and I, like you, felt terribly guilty for feeling that way, because I had been on national television, and I had this big house and this wonderful family and a beautiful wife and seemingly everything. And there were days that I just wanted to sit in bed and cry. And
Yeah.
I'm not as comfortable as you saying this. So it is actually difficult. And I would imagine a lot of guys have a difficult time admitting this, because we're supposed to be strong, and we're supposed to be the provider, and we're supposed to be the man. And it just feels weak, to be honest with you, Melissa.
Yeah. And I think you did what every single person in this world does, is you anchored to a role to define yourself. So when someone asked who you were the sportscaster. You were the, right? That was all, the only way you defined yourself. You never built a sense of self over anything other than that.
That's 100% right.
So when that ended. You became worthless.
100%. Wow. Yeah. I mean, you literally nailed it. Yeah. And
I get it. I was right there too.
And the only time I don't feel worthless is right now, when I'm doing these interviews. And that sounds terrible to say, but yes, it robbed me of my identity. And worthless is the word that describes the way I feel most days.
So just so you know, that is the #1 negative cognition of every person on the planet. So if I can start by saying you are not alone, because I've spoken with everyone from supermodels to Olympians to people, supermodels to Olympians to everybody. It doesn't matter. You can be anywhere on the spectrum. Everybody still feels the same way, because we're taught that whatever we achieve, it's not enough.
But I will add also that Melissa always says, when she obviously is speaking with a lot of people these days, and she always says that for someone to get on that right path, they have to begin by being able to do what you just did. And they have to be able to be self-aware, and they have to be curious, and they have to want it. And so just the fact that you're even saying that, and I've known you a pretty long time, I don't know that you would have said that a year ago. I'm going to guess not. No. And maybe not even 3 months ago. And so that is your ticket to the journey.
Most people would say congratulations, because it is only when you have been stripped of everything that you can be the phoenix rising from the ashes. And I have had a very similar journey, being stripped of, you know, who I am, and having to define for the first time, what am I without that role? And if you think about it as not the negative, but this beautiful, pristine white canvas now that is longing to be filled with who you are going to be now, and who you are as a person, as a soul, as a being, not as a successful, you know, successful man.
And as a parent and as a spouse.
Yeah, then you can begin to redefine that and really build it from the inside out, because yours was built from the outside, you know, from the beginning. And so many of ours are. And honestly, this is, I know you don't see it, this is a profound gift, because now you can begin to say, what is it I truly love? Because I'm sure a lot of that role you despise, and I'm sure the pressure of that role was killing you. So I can imagine that there were aspects of it that were beautiful that you can keep for this second act. And then there were ones of it that you're like, I never again want that as part of my life. And you can begin to build from the ground up and from the inside out, like, who am I without the role? And that's really fun work. I mean, it's terrifying. It's exhilarating. You know, that's my favorite word, exhilarating and terrifying.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder why people like Doug and my wife have this gift of just a pleasant demeanor and a positive outlook. I would do anything in the world to have that. It's such a gift, Doug. I mean, do you realize that you were just born that way? And people like Melissa and I, we always are going to struggle with this darkness.
Well, but as Melissa would say, the gift that you have is the ability to transform that darkness into light that could be even brighter. Could Melissa have created these wonderful toys and brought joy to so many without her darkness helping to provide some of that fuel? I'm not sure. I don't know if she could. So
and this chapter is going to fuel your meaning for the rest of your life. So you are going to take, I mean, you already said it. You said, like, I mean, you could be the face of male vulnerability, you know, going forward. And that could become the biggest gift and forge the most meaning, more meaning than you ever imagined. Because I think we're ready. We're ready to, like, rip that facade off of the big boys don't cry.
Right. When you said, gosh, you said, I haven't done this, I haven't shared it outside these walls. I mean, do you even want to begin to guess how many are feeling the exact same way as you do, and who are sitting there in equally important roles all around this country, who are petrified that they might come out with the with an honest revelation like this? When Melissa says you're not alone, oh, trust me, my friend, you are not alone in those feelings. Yeah. And I think there's probably more than you could imagine. I think that by beginning to understand and recognize and respect it, I think that is the first good step.
Yeah, because you're facing a stigma too. I mean,
Sure.
that stigma. We had a workshop, again, another workshop a while back, and people talked about the things that were said to them as children that made them feel unable to feel. And one of the guys said, big boys don't cry, changed his life, ruined his life. And he is still in therapy today, because every time he even showed a tear, he got the finger, big boys don't cry. And he was like 2 at the time, you know, that this started. And he was like, said, you know, he said to us, I wasn't a big boy. And he was crying as he said it. He was like, I was told I wasn't allowed to feel. And, you know, the others said things like, I'll give you something to cry about. You know, things like that, you know, that sound almost funny when you say them, but like this message that we're given that negative emotions can't be manifested, you know, can't be shown. And negative emotions are like half of who we are. I mean, so we're basically saying to people, only show the top side of the emotional spectrum, never show the negative. So what do? We hide because they exist, and they exist in all of us. They really do. And I think if we're more sensitive, you know, you might be emotionally hypersensitive. And that unfortunately maybe isn't, you know, conducive with like a strong guy, but it's your blessing. Because if you can show vulnerability, you will show so many other strong guys that they can too. And you will change the world, man. You will make it so much better a place.
That's, I'm a little overwhelmed, but I really appreciate those words. And if there's any guys I can help, look, I cried this morning. So it's for every day is a struggle right now. I mean, there's better days, and a lot like you, it's self-care. I've learned to meditate and to journal and to do yoga and exercise, and still some days I just can't get through it. So I really appreciate that, and hopefully maybe I can communicate with some guys in one of your workshops. And
we would love that.
Yeah.
You are welcome.
How do people sign
and
up?
The other thing I'll say
Yeah.
is when you feel those thoughts, the worst thing you can do is judge them and say, why am I feeling this way? I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should be over it. I should be, any should be's, or I can't. When you allow it, and I know it sounds crazy, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but you have to allow it. You have to say, this is a part of me. This is my feelings. And the only way I will get over it and be able to move on is to allow the sadness I feel for this loss. You suffered a loss and you need to grieve it because it's part of you that got, you know, shattered. And until you allow yourself to fully grieve it, and you may go 3 days, right? And you'll be blissful. You'll be like, I'm over it. And then something will trigger you. You'll see something on TV or someone will say something to you. How's the job going? And you'll immediately go back there. You'll be like, wait a second. Why am I back there? I was over it. You can't. Every time it comes back up, it just means it's still there, not as great. And every time you allow it, you're making it a little less. And ultimately, I promise you, if you don't judge it, and when you see yourself judging it, say, I know this is my habit I've been doing my whole life. I judge myself when I feel things. I'm not going to judge it. And I do this thing. I know it sounds really corny, but the end of it is you offer yourself compassion. You give that child who felt like he could never fail. You have to offer that little child compassion for hurting over something that he lost and feeling like a failure. You know, that's the ultimate, that's the, at the crux is we don't want to feel like failures. But it's not a failure at all. That's human. And we all fail. And we all, I guarantee if you started telling your story, like I tell this story about how I got rejected from this MFA program at UConn, like the worst school for an MFA.
Whoa,
I got rejected
whoa,
from,
whoa.
and I was told my verses stunk. And it was so horrifying that
You know what? We have certain standards at UConn, okay? You could get that MFA at Duke if you want, but we have certain standards at UConn that just have to be met, okay? Let's just leave it at that.
And it was so horrifying for me. I didn't write verses for 25 years because this one professor told me my verses were sophomoric, which means stupid, basically. But when I shared that story finally, and I shared it in this meeting of a whole bunch of creatives, 2 other people who I respect more than anything for their prolific creative ability raised their hand and said, I was rejected from an MFA program. And I was like, not you. And then another one, brilliant guy, I was rejected from an MFA program. And I just sat there and I said, Would you look at that? I spent 30 years feeling like an absolute failure and such a loser. And now I'm being told, it's almost like the three most creative people in this room were all rejected from that same, you know, from an MFA program. It was like almost the counter, like the more creative you are and against the grain, the more you're going to be rejected by society. So
it's a badge of honor.
It is a badge of honor. If you can rise above this and harness this to show others that it's okay to fail and that you can again rise from the ashes in your new form, whatever that is. This will be the greatest, this will become your battle cry, and it'll define the new chapter for yourself.
And so those verses, by the way, are throughout this beautiful book. And on lifelines.com, people can sign up. Tell me about the process real quickly. I know you got to run, but people can just sign up. It's all free. They can take workshops on all different categories. If you could just describe the process for those that don't know.
I think there's one coming up on male vulnerability.
Okay,
with a special guest.
Yes, deal.
Yes, good. Yeah, I mean, it's entirely free. You know, Doug and I are funding the whole thing. And yeah, you just go on lifelines.com. We have our workshops. You have to put your email in because we give you a Zoom link, and you just go on it. And we just had one like right before this. My own therapist came on to tell her life story. So we do some cool things. And you know what? We're new. We're only like 6 weeks old, and we're trying a lot of new things, and some of them fail. We have some that are like real bust. No one comes, and we have other ones like the one we just did had like over 200 people.
But you know what?
So,
you know what's a common theme though is the number of communications, the number of letters and everything that Melissa's getting. First of all, it's just incredible. I mean, many thousands, not just thousands, many thousands and thousands and thousands, and so many of them say, "Oh my gosh, I see my story now in what you're talking about." And that's the thing that I think that we are trying to provide. We're trying to provide, and that's why we keep saying it over and over again, you are not alone. We're trying to provide an environment in which people, I remember one of our very first workshops, and a woman raised her hand at the workshop. She said, "Oh my gosh, what you just said, I thought I was the only one who ever felt that way." And she said, "I just feel better just knowing that." Yeah. So that is one of the, and that's why we like the idea of peer-to-peer. It's not medically driven. It's not professionally driven, if you will. It's people sharing their honest stories and experiences and learnings with others.
And I will say something that maybe will resonate with you particularly. So my whole life, I had very few friends. You know, I was this perfect person that had no chink in my armor. I was like never could make a mistake and like never showed any vulnerability. And I really never grew up with good friends. I was very competitive with my friends. I had to be the best.
Which made it relatively easy for me to get a date. She was like, "Well, let me see. I have nothing on my calendar for 8 years.
I had boyfriends.
I can squeeze you in a year and a half from now, unless something else comes up." So I was like, "This is it. I'm in. I'm in."
So I'm saying this. I'm hoping this is going to resonate with you. Then
Dave or me? I'm actually feeling bad right now.
Come out with
like, never mind, Dave. You're eating me for lunch.
I'm not eating you for lunch. I had a lot of boyfriends. I didn't have those.
What? Wait a second. No, I didn't hear that part either.
Right. Now you made me lose my place and everything. But
where were we?
I finally.
So many boyfriends.
I had a boyfriend when I met you. You knew that.
That's true. I like challenges.
So then I come out with what arguably was the biggest, in a sense, failure of my life, right? The fact that I'm imperfect. And I have this affliction that I've hidden from the world. And I'm basically showing this vulnerability that I've never shown ever to anyone. And instead of becoming, more of a failure and people like throwing stones at me, ha ha, I receive more outpouring and develop more incredible friendships than I ever have in my life. And now, like, I don't even have room for all the friends who want to, like, and people joke, they're like, I would have sat with you at the lunch table at school. And I'm like, the lunch table, honey, isn't big enough anymore. Like, the lunch table is basically the whole school. Everyone wants to sit at my lunch table. So what I'm saying to you is don't perceive in your head what coming out with your truth is going to do. If anything, it is going to give you more like affection and love and compassion and jobs and opportunities than you ever had before. And that's what it's done for me. And I'm like in awe. I'm like, why the heck wasn't I like this? Why didn't I show my true self in high school? Life would have been a whole lot better. I would have had friends.
Yeah, I would have been left out in the dust. I would have been toast. I'd still be out there.
But it brought you down.
I'd be out there on the dating network still. Yeah, I'm the one that got blown up by Melissa.
Well, guys, it's been just an absolute pleasure. I love you both. Last question is the easiest question you will answer. We've been kind of playing a tag system throughout these interviews here on Westport Magazine. Either of you or both of you, give me someone else you'd like to see interviewed. Could be Westport, New Canaan, Darien, Greenwich, you name it.
Ah, that's an interesting
Could be
one.
business, media, politics, you name it. We've had a senator, congressman, media members,
Will
authors,
Haskell.
actors. Pardon me?
Will Haskell.
Will Haskell. Okay, the politician.
Yeah, but he's not a politician. Because there's a negative that attaches that. Will's an awesome person. He's Westporter, not too long out of Staples, an incredible person. When he first started running, one of our daughters, Audrey, he was so incredible to Audrey and welcomed Audrey to help with his campaign and just being out there, which I was a number of times. He has a really good, authentic, and caring way about him. I have no idea what party he's in. I just don't know because he just kind of wants to do things to help everyone around here.
That's a good
Then
one.
he's not a politician. Melissa, do you want to add
Yeah.
anyone?
I mean, I was thinking about, I'm sure you maybe have done it, but Stacey Curran and her, you know, what she's done with the theater. I just think that is
One of
the
my
most
favorite humans.
incredible effort. And it's done from the heart. Like, and it's so extraordinary what they've done with that from nothing. It's a really cool story.
Yeah, please check out the Remarkable Theater. What they're doing is awesome. The drive-in is back, and it's a great time and for a great cause as well. Thank you, guys. So lifelines.com, please sign up if you're struggling, and if it's hard to admit it, like me, just jump on lifelines.com, get signed up. There's workshops. Everything is free. And where can they get the book?
Where can I get the book?
You can get the book at most bookstores. You can get it online. You can get it at Amazon. You can get it at Barnes & Noble.
Local bookshops.
Yeah.
Pretty much everywhere.
Awesome. Well, I will see you guys, let's see, Saturday on the sidelines. It's been awesome. I appreciate
You're the
what you're
best,
doing.
David. We're
Thank you
really
so
looking
much for
forward
doing this.
to doing this, and you did it in a very special way. Melissa's had a lot of conversations, but you really went about this incredibly well, and you did an amazing job with this.
And we get to see your gift.
We
It's
are
awesome.
we are huge David Briggs fans, and we're huge fans of your awesome family too, Dave.
I'm a bigger fan of you guys and your family. Thank you, and thanks to my friends here. They say thank you as well. They're sleeping. Love you guys.
Thanks. Love you too, David.
Bye.